3 a.m. Pillow Talk. We have Amanda Knowles on today. She is a clinical therapist at a private practice here in the Springs, and I'm going to let her introduce herself because when I asked, it was a mouthful, so I will flip it.
Yes, so my name is Amanda. I just graduated from UCCS with my master's. It's in counseling and human services, and I did the emphasis in clinical mental health. So that just lines me up to be able to be a licensed professional counselor. And I'm just waiting on my license to come in right now.
Okay. What got you into? Because I remember 10 or 12 years ago, you had graduated from college, maybe 15 years ago, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
What what got you into mental health?
Yeah, so initially my degree was my bachelor's was in communication. Found a love for that, but never really did much with it. Just kind of stayed in the restaurant industry. Helped my family run a food truck, and that was really um, profitable and good. And I still felt like there was more I wanted to do with my life.
Okay.
And my son and I went through like this really big major trauma. And a friend of mine was like, "Hey, here's this card, go see this person." And I was like, "Oh, therapy, I don't know." And
Yeah.
at that point, I was desperate. So I was like, fuck it, let's go. And I went. And he told me about EMDR therapy, eye
Okay.
movement desensitization reprocessing. And I was able to, within a few sessions, process this major trauma that I was
Okay.
having a huge stress response to. Um, that if not taken care of, that's what leads to PTSD. Like if you
Oh,
take care of that initial kind of stress response and get it within control within those 6 months, you have PTSD.
okay. What is EMDR? What does that entail?
So it is bilateral movement or stimulation. So sometimes it's with the eyes back and forth. Sometimes it's just tapping.
Okay.
Sometimes it's audio. Sometimes you have buzzers in your hands and it'll vibrate back and forth.
Is that so it does something to your brain? Is that like something to do with certain areas of your brain? Because it'll be like stimuli.
Yeah. So what it does is it opens up both your left and right brain to process at the same time.
Okay.
So yeah, so I was able to process that trauma and be desensitized within that session. Since then, I've done I think close to 40 EMDR sessions. Um,
Okay.
yeah, and that's been
Yeah.
shoot 6 years now. Um, and it's changed my life. I mean, being able to process traumatic, whether it's big T, little T, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
in real time. I mean, it's quick and effective and amazing. And I'm super stoked because my whole goal. So I did this meditation thing, and that's how I kind of figured out like, oh, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I had already been in therapy for probably about 2 years at that point when I decided, oh, I want to do this, which is shocking to me, to be honest.
Yeah.
Never ever thought I'd be doing this, but I love it and I'm blessed. And I am it's amazing. I've come full circle, and I love
Are you still,
it. So
are you still in therapy?
I am. I am.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I've been trying to advocate for men getting some kind of a model of therapy because I tend to think that maybe men have a hard time just venting, and like I'm not sure how therapy goes. I've never been in therapy.
Mm-hmm.
I know that men are more action kind of oriented, and I know that in Australia they did something called a shed initiative, where they put a broken lawnmower in the middle of a shed, and they put like 7 or 8 men in there, and they'd stand because they'd studied the way women talk to each other with their knees pointing at each other,
Mm-hmm.
but men we talk our knees are pointed away. So they put a broken lawnmower in there, and they have men just stand around the lawnmower, About 5 minutes in, someone grabs a wrench. And then before you know it, about 20 minutes into fixing this lawnmower, they're all venting to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all able to kind of open up. So I've been kind of an advocate for men having kind of their own sort of thing, sort of mental health and emotional release type thing.
Yeah. A lot of what you're saying is that having this common thing, like they're able to work on something, fix something, work with their hands, maybe take some of that pressure off of the mentality of it. Do you know what therapy is and why therapy works? Have you ever understood or been told even like what the real true model behind it is?
No, I went to couples therapy one time and I thought it was horrible, a horrible experience.
I've heard that so many times. Oh gosh.
Yes, and it was a woman therapist, and it was just a horrible experience.
Ah,
I don't know if that correlated or not, but
yeah. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. No, couples therapy is a wildly different model. That
okay.
is like, well, and it depends which model you go on. It could be emotionally focused, it could be the Gottman method. I
I like the Gottmans. I just want to interject real quick, and I like the Gottmans. I've read their book,
okay. Yeah, I read
learned a lot.
well one of
Go ahead.
some stuff I love, some stuff I'm like, I don't know. There's also like Imago, emotionally focused. A lot of people pull from like a lot of areas. Um, I have not done a couple session yet, but let me tell you, I work with a lot of people who bring family members in,
Okay.
and I love that.
Yeah.
But so therapy, okay, what is therapy? Why does therapy work? I'm going to advocate because this is what I do for a living, and I love it. And
Educate.
I'll admit, most men don't come in. I only have two biologically cisgender male clients
Okay.
out of teens, like teens
Okay.
in the numbers right now where I'm at while I'm
Yeah.
building my caseload at my new practice. Um, so men, no, they don't really come to therapy. I think part of it is just society. And like it's
Maybe a stigma.
yeah, exactly. Like um the stigma being well, you should just be able to handle that. You're tough. You're strong. Men don't cry. Fuck that. God, I hate that. Men are allowed to have emotions. Men are allowed to have the same emotion as women, and they are allowed to be vulnerable. But for whatever reason, women, it is socially okay to be vulnerable. Pour your heart out. But a man isn't treated the same way. Little boys, we teach them, be tough. And I hate that. I hate that. As a mom, as a human, with my son, I tell him, feel the things, man. Let it out.
Yeah.
You're allowed to have emotions, right? And
Yeah. It seems like almost a generational thing.
yes,
So you know the term "suck it up" actually came from World War II. When a man would throw up in his air mask, he was told he needed to suck it up and swallow it and continue fighting. So it's like this is what we've been told for hundreds and thousands of years, and now we're getting into this this era where we're trying to find a healthy spot for our masculinity and find a kind of a healthy way to express it, but at the same time, we're trying to we're told like we have to be emotional, we have to, and we're I think we're having a hard time finding that balance.
exactly. And I think it is society's fault. I think it's our
Yeah.
problem. I really do. I think we're starting to do better with our littles, like in the school system, bringing in actual counselors um, who come from the same program as me. They just don't have the clinical side. Um,
Yeah.
some do. I have a lot of friends that graduated with me that did both clinical and school emphasis. They learn the same
Okay.
stuff I do. You know what I mean? Like, and then they get to go and get hired by the school. It's not a career counselor. It is not a guidance counselor. It is a real mental health counselor that we are
Okay.
putting in our school systems now. And I think it's important for people to know and understand that your kiddo goes and talks to a counselor, they have a master's degree in counseling and human services and mental health. And now we're implementing these things with our littles, and we're implementing things like positive affirmations for both and others. And I think it's important to have that language, right? Being able to know what it sounds like to be vulnerable and say, thanks for being my friend. You're so good at being my friend. A little 6-year-old being able to say that to somebody instead of
Yeah.
the typical kind of battling it out mentality.
Yeah, I like that. I actually like that. I like that a lot. I like that. The thought of that. Yeah.
It's really cool. It's really cool. So, okay, so where I was, and I am tangent heck, because I can go on about this for like 1,000 years, because I'm still passionate about mental health and what it is. So, what therapy is
Okay.
essentially is feeling heard, feeling understood, and the techniques that we use help you to feel heard and to feel understood.
Okay.
So I have people who come into me, and it's the teens and the younger adolescents and teens that'll say to me, "I don't know why I want this, but I know I want somebody to listen to me," and it works. And I just had to do some reassessments um, with some kids, and that was a really common theme of, I don't know why this works,
Okay.
but me being able to talk and somebody actually listen to me and feel like I'm heard,
Yeah.
that is what changes things, because some of these clients I had to go on 2-3 week break when I was transitioning from practice to practice. And
Yeah.
they're like, man, life is just a lot more rough right now. And it doesn't make sense. And I don't know why, but just coming here helps. And it's the talking method and the talking model.
Okay.
And Rogers did a lot on that. He's what we would consider person centered. And person
Okay.
using no techniques at all. No CBT, no DBT, no EMDR. It's just reflecting back to you things that you say. And you love that.
Kind of like an affirmation, kind of making you feel like you're right. How does that work? What do you think?
Okay.
So
So let's try for a second. Tell me something about your day today.
I made a big ass pot of biscuits and gravy.
Yeah? How was that?
It's fucking delicious.
Yeah.
I love biscuits and gravy. Yeah.
Yeah. And I can say to you now, like, I see you lighting up because you were able to go in your kitchen, make biscuits and gravy, and how delicious that was for you to experience that. In that
Okay. That,
moment, your brain is building new neural connections because you're like, oh, this human just heard everything I was saying and shared that with me.
okay. That's interesting. That actually felt good to say that though.
Yeah.
That actually felt good to say that for yeah. That did. That felt good to say that. Okay. So that's the model of therapy.
Mhm.
And, um, is that the model of therapy you're in? That you
No. So,
no.
yes.
Tell me what your model of therapy.
Okay. So, everybody is person centered at their core. They need to be. Every single therapist out there is going to use those basic techniques. So, you feel
Okay.
heard, you feel understood, you feel validated, you feel cared for. We come in with what we call unconditional positive regard. And so, what that is no matter what, I'm not going to judge you. And a part of that is you need to be a stranger to me also. If I know you, you're going to think in some way or another I'm judging you. Um, and so it really helps when it's this stranger who comes in and
Okay.
I can just sit with you and you can tell me some wild shit people have. Wild shit.
Yeah.
And I just sit there and I'm like, cool. And people are like, you didn't bat an eyelash, you didn't flinch. I'm like, no, because we all have done some shit that has
Yeah.
shame, embarrassment, guilt. All of us. There is not a human on earth that's perfect. You got to get
And you
that
being
out.
you being a stranger probably helps them kind of helps them be able to actually open up a little bit.
Exactly. Because we're not supposed to know each other other than inside those four walls, really.
Yeah.
And if for whatever reason I run into you out in public, that's only ever happened once. It's pretty rare. Um, you get to choose, and I talked to you about that on the first session. Like, I will ignore you. I will not act like I know you because I need to protect your privacy and your confidentiality.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's up to you if you come up to me and want to have a conversation. Otherwise, we're strangers. You don't
Okay.
know who I am. Because that's hella awkward, right? Like you're on a
Yeah, that could be awkward.
right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're like, this is my therapist, like that's awkward.
Yeah, that could be.
Yeah.
So, if we can circle back for a minute, I like that idea you mentioned of doing the EMDR
hmm
within what, 6 months.
Yeah. So if you can
Pre,
get therapy and be able to process that trauma,
yeah.
yeah.
How do we know if we run into something? I read the other day because I don't prep real good for these podcasts because I'd rather be natural curiosity.
Yeah.
I read something that post traumatic stress disorder is not what happened to you; it's a scar left.
Yes. Yeah, it is. Okay. So what actually happens is an acute stress disorder first.
Okay.
So acute
Okay.
means short. Chronic is
Yeah.
going to be long term. So that's once that 6 months hits. And so the beast of part of my job is being able to diagnose because the diagnosis tells us how to treat.
Okay.
Very important. You will not treat anxiety with depression treatments. Sometimes
Yeah.
you will not treat depression with anxiety things, right?
Yeah.
PTSD is this big balloon. And so this umbrella is going to have all of the things. So, how I know what PTSD is, you're hypervigilant, you're jumpy, you scare easy, you're having nightmares, you're having flashbacks in real life. And so when these things start to add up, that's how I know. Well, if this is happening, but that incident just happened
Yeah.
and it wasn't 6 months ago, and we
Okay.
work on it, it's not going to lead to this lasting effect of PTSD the same way going untreated does.
Okay. And what do you think? But this is probably a weird question. What do you think? Like in your experience, do people get more PTSD from events or from people?
Oh boy. Okay. So people I personally know,
Okay.
I would say it's people hurting people.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, because we're a lot of really broken humans that
Yeah.
treat other people not great.
Yeah.
And when we have our own mental illness, it's like be got, be got, be got. It's just gonna keep happening. Um, hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
There are major events that happen, right? We think about the Aurora Theater shooting, mass school shootings. They're fucking terrible. And those are traumatic. But there are those that walk away with PTSD, and there are those that don't. Why?
Oh, yeah. Why would that be?
Yeah. So part of it is the resiliency factor. Well, what builds resiliency? Part of what we know, we don't understand all of it, is what we call our support systems. Well, what's our support system? The people that we can fucking lean on when things get tough. If we isolate and hold off, we're not well. If we can
Okay.
say, I am not well and I need something, someone, whether that's a family member, a friend, right?
Yeah.
That helps. That helps
Okay.
tremendously. And then therapy, obviously, if you can go to therapy and you can work through what we would call this acute stress right away.
Yeah.
Um, some people naturally work through it in their lives with their support system. Those that didn't work on it, didn't have a support system, and that kind of shoved and pushed a lot of it down.
Okay.
8 months later, you're having flashbacks, you're having nightmares, you're really jumpy and startling easily. All of these things are happening, and it's PTSD. And
Okay.
you can still treat it, right? But the way you treat acute stress and you treat PTSD are slightly different because at this point it's more prolonged. And
Okay.
we do these screeners. It's called a PCL5.
Okay.
And depending on how you answer it is how we know, like, where is your level at? I've watched people go to really high levels. That's sad and it is messed up. I mean, these people are barely functioning.
Yeah.
Also, watch someone come in and now go what we call subclinical, where there's still things there, but it's
Okay.
manageable and it's not overwhelming. And it's fucking cool to work with these people and see them get there to where it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm okay. It's there, it happened, but I'm managing.
So is PTSD curable, or is there always some remnants?
Yeah. So, in my opinion, people are going to tell you differently. I even had a
Okay.
professor who's like, well, I have PTSD. And I was like, really? Like, from something that happened 20 years ago? Like, you should have processed that by now. My
Yeah.
my opinion is I had PTSD and the thing didn't even happen to me. It happened to my kid. But that is a secondary. So you don't have to directly witness, or have something happen to you to get PTSD. You can
Okay.
learn about something happening to someone you're very close to, and it has this residual PTSD effect on you. Never would have thought that was possible. This thing
Yeah.
happened to me, but as a mother, I internalized all of it and had all of those symptoms. It was awful.
Yeah. I wouldn't have thought that would be a thing. I would have thought it would have to be something that happened directly to you. But I guess if you care enough about somebody and you put yourself in that spot, I guess that would be possible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's crazy how PTSD works. We used to think like, oh, and I thought the same thing. Like, I have PTSD. Like, I never been to war. What are you talking about?
Yeah. I was about to mention that. Yeah. I was about to mention that it's naturally been just kind of put in that spot to soldiers and people who've gone to war. But I think it might get overlooked. It gets overlooked sometimes. I think maybe you get you think you can get PTSD from relationships,
Yeah,
from certain, and like, and I think it maybe we overlook a lot of stuff, and we tend to try to rub dirt on it, or we don't want to admit that maybe something had a lasting effect on us.
yeah.
Yeah.
So part of what that is too, like, there's multiple ways that it can come about. A part of it is kind of like the straw breaking the camel's back effect. Little things adding up over time that weren't healed. Another thing can be like a really big, massive thing. A part of it, I mean, I could pull up my DSM right now. A part of it is learning about, witnessing, directly experiencing, and here's the key, where or somebody else's life you felt in some way was threatened, um,
Yeah.
or your safety. And so I go back and I think about, all these theorists that I had to study while I was in school. And a part of what happens is our brain. Okay, so what is PTSD? It's kind of this ultimate fight or flight signal.
Okay.
We also know now that it's not just fight or flight. There's fawning, which fawning is like loving over, if you will. Like, I'm fawning over you because I'm so scared. I basically need to kiss your butt.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense, especially in a yeah,
And then there's freezing. Those of us that just are like stuck,
yeah.
absolutely stuck. I have no response, zero. I can't even react in the moment. And then there's flopping, which are people who really faint. Like, literally, their system can't handle it. They just pass out.
Oh wow.
Hmm.
Okay, yeah. I've heard of the fight, flight, or freeze.
Yep.
I've never heard of the other ones put on there. Okay.
Yeah. So, okay, so about that. Now, how does this happen? Okay, so think about it. Back in the day, right? We're nomadic creatures, we're hunters, we're gatherers, there's no electricity. We're out in the wilderness trying to find food, right? We're building
Yeah.
shelters, and there's real ass wild animals. There's real weather. There are all these things. And so we had to be very alert because we had to know how to be safe. So we didn't get eaten by bears and, if we're
Yeah.
tigers and lions, if we're hearing mountain wolves,
Yeah.
all kinds of
Yeah.
things, right? And so
Yeah.
our bodies learned, and it's the vagus nerve down here. Like if you think of a brain like this, it's down close here.
Okay.
That is our whole nervous system. It's basically right behind here, and it's gonna spread
Now,
to our whole.
now, may I interject for a minute? Now, I heard, now, first of all, I just want to circle back to, I'm sorry, I'm going to go off on a
But,
tangent. So on the evolutionary thing, I have a theory that just a stupid layman's theory, okay,
okay,
that a lot of our anxiety comes from the fact that we used to have to pay attention to all of our surroundings. And now
your theory,
our
that's
brain,
a huge theory.
yeah, our brain doesn't know what to do with itself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't say you're stupid because you're very smart. You're very right. You're right on the right track. All
Okay.
people have realized, like, we used to constantly be scanning our environment.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. That's a huge part of why our brains have adapted this way. Now we live cushy in our homes.
It's not like it's not dangerous enough, and our brains don't know what to do with all that energy.
Yep. That's a big,
Okay.
yeah. And
Now, and it's called,
is that
um,
is constantly being triggered.
yeah, yeah. So now the vagus is called the vagus nerve.
Vagus, yeah, VAGUS.
Okay, I heard that 90% of the information passed between your brain and your body is from your body to your brain.
Yeah.
And then only 10% goes from your brain to your body.
I would have to look that up. I don't know for a fact
Okay.
how that part works.
But they affect, like your mind can affect your body.
Your mind can hugely affect your body. So I brought a book to plug.
I saw that actually you posted it.
Yes.
Yes, I'm gonna go on another quick tangent on a personal note. Oxford in late September, Oxford University in the United Kingdom has a 3-day seminar that you can attend online for continuing credits if you want, or just regular people can attend online.
Mhm.
And it has the author of that book. It's got Esther Perel.
Yeah.
It's got Gaber Mate or something like that. The older, so when I saw that book, I
Yeah.
thought about that. Go ahead.
And that's some OGs right there. I mean, that is,
Yeah, those are like he taught people with relational trauma. The whole thing is about relational trauma.
yeah. And so this idea, literally, the body keeps the score, brain, mind, and body in the healing of trauma. And so, like, from this, do you ever notice? Okay, let's make it simple. Anxiety
Okay.
tummy, right? Get
Yeah.
anxious, sometimes you get the poops.
Yeah.
That is your vagus nerve. That is your brain saying, I'm nervous, I don't know what to do. And so what it's doing is sending out signals, and then your gut is going, you get the poops. Because the one thing that lines up the closest is our gastrointestinal to this nerve.
Okay.
Right straight down. But I mean, it's vast. I have a friend who, when she would go through something and get re-triggered, she would lose her voice. And she'd go to doctor after doctor thinking she was always sick. But the reality was, and I have another client, same thing, it goes here to the throat, and she'll cough and she can't clear it. And a part of that is just that body keeping the score, right? I'll be honest, for years we thought I had IBS. I was at the gastroenterologist all the
I remember that when I lost my leg. I remember that you. Yeah. Go ahead.
yeah. And I did this EMDR. One of my closest friends who had passed away, that hit me really hard. Wish I went to therapy then, didn't.
Yeah.
It took 4 more years to go. When I processed his death, that's where it went. And I literally was like, excuse me, like, I'm gonna have to run. And my therapist was like, no, like, stay with me. Let's keep processing.
Yeah.
IBS, no more. Gastro symptoms, no more. I held his death in my gut. And so that fight or flight response, every time it kicked in, it was like, oh, gotta poo. I mean, how
That's
embarrassing and awful, but
yeah. No, that's amazing. That's how would you diagnose something like that? How would you know? Like, would you just have to kind of throw things at a dartboard
yeah. So
to figure out?
here's what I do as a clinician. And here's
Okay.
oh, I have a hair in my eyeball. We are told to ask all clients. So we do a clinical assessment. You come in for the first time, it's an intake. What we do is we ask bio, psycho, social questions. So it's like all those things. And a part of it is, do you have a primary care doctor? Do you have a dentist? Do you regularly get checkups? And when was the last time you went in? When was the last time you had blood work? If you're a woman, when was the last time you had a pap smear or looked at your woman's health? As a man, same thing. When was the last time you had your prostate checked? When was the last time you had your hormones checked? So many people come in and they'll be thinking, same thing with doctors. I wish doctors had this model. So we have the model of, you haven't been to a doctor in a while, I would love for you to go to a doctor. I need to rule out other things first. Because some people will come in with back pain and they have a real bulging disc. Some people come in with back pain and there is nothing wrong with them physically,
Okay.
right? How many times
Yeah.
doctors told people, think about this, it's all in your head. There's nothing wrong with you. That you run all the tests and the person's like, I'm really suffering here.
Yeah.
And the doctor is like, there's nothing wrong. Like, according to your blood work, according to your x-rays, there's nothing wrong. And then these people are pissed, right? And they come to me and they need validation because they're like, my doctor tells me it's all in my head. Sometimes it is. And that's a fucked up way to say it though, right? It's all in your head.
That is.
Oh, right?
Yeah. So they don't say, hey, maybe you should go see a therapist, or they don't. Do you think it's kind of just an old school brick and mortar type of being a doctor? Like it's not. Do you think, if that's a way to put it, if that's understandable, do you think that like, because my doctor just pushes magnesium. I'd be like, bro, I'm having trouble sleeping. Take magnesium. I'm like, my stump hurts. Take magnesium. Like, that's all the fuck he says.
Yeah. Yeah. Vitamins are important, but also like getting blood work to see where your vitamins are. Do you know
Yeah.
how many people, especially women and people in Colorado, struggle with severe depression, don't know why? If they get a blood panel, what are they super deficient in? Vitamin D.
Okay.
You start
Yeah.
taking vitamin D and you feel better. And it's shocking. Even me, I'll plug this. I am not a medical doctor. I cannot tell you medical advice.
Yeah.
I never can.
That's heard it say. That's
Multivitamins
heard.
are fucking important, man. And
Yeah.
especially in Colorado, and electrolytes, right? If our body is not in our brain are not
Yeah.
nourished the way they are or should be, we're not working, right? And I'm
Yeah.
look, I will tell you all the time, holistic, right? I want you to be a triangle holistically. It is
Okay.
not just your mental health, right? But we're going to look at this part of the triangle. It is also your body. How are we taking care of our body, our mental health?
Okay.
And then spiritually, are we nourished spiritually in one way or another? And I don't care. And I tell my clients that. I don't care if you're Christian, Buddhist, want to be a monk, a nun. I don't care. But in some way
Yeah.
or another, I want you to nourish who you are as a person, nourish your spirit. Because
That's
all of those are different.
yeah. This is different than I would have thought it would be like to talk to a therapist. First of all, this I had no idea the conversation would go like this. I had no. This is very very fucking interesting.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
how are you feeling? Sorry, professional hazard. How are you feeling
Here,
emotionally about it?
am I getting in the therapy chair right now?
Just a little bit, 'cause I'm curious.
Yeah, I didn't think it would have went like that. You're really yeah. I wouldn't have thought the conversation would take on vitamins. Like I didn't think that you would take a holistic approach, right? Like maybe I have a different idea of what therapy is
Yeah.
because I've never been to therapy. I actually preach against men going to therapy, which I don't know if I'm right or wrong. I'm very passionate about that.
Mhm.
I have no clue if I'm right or wrong. I think men need to work out, they need to work their bodies, and they need to but yeah, so I guess it's opened my eyes a little bit more to a therapeutic side of something I had no fucking clue about, but I apparently talk a lot about.
No, I know. And even today, I was like, I wonder if we'll like get into it at all about that of like where me, I'm like, everybody needs a therapist. Even from the time little babies, like um play therapy. I've been trained in play therapy 101. I'm not certified registered play therapist. I plan to,
Okay,
but I have to do the second half of it. Why does
okay,
play therapy work? Because the toys are children's language. And so
okay,
act out things through their play. There's this book behind me. I don't know, that's not one I put by my side. Dibs, In Search of Self, Virginia Axline studied kiddos. This was back in like the 60s. Dibs was this what they considered like really mentally disturbed child. Okay. Would not talk, was very aggressive. Once he went to play therapy, they realized this little kid, this 5-year old, could read and was extremely intelligent. But his parents would lock him in his room and just leave him there. Again, this was like okay back then to do.
yeah, yeah. This is back in the '60s.
But now, like after reading this book, seeing how Virginia Axline worked with him and seeing what he was able to do, and it's a like kind of play by play of what's happening like in these sessions also.
Okay.
Watching him work through these things, like he's taking a soldier and putting it in the sand and pushing him down and burying him, and he'll even say like that's my dad, and he'll like go to the house and he'll like lock his dad in a room instead, and after a while he just resolved it. How freaking pissed he was at his dad, at his parents,
Yeah,
resolved it, and then he was fine and he went on to be this like super intelligent, great kiddo and human as an adult. um but like therapy just works because you work through your shit as you get older. So like play therapy into like expressive arts kind of stuff. How can like 9, 10, 11 year olds who
okay,
don't quite understand language yet, how do they process more
yeah,
expressive art kind of stuff? Then we start getting more into the talking model, and that talking model is I'm here, I'm with you, I'm listening to you. That is why therapy works. But then there's those of us where we started on that earlier that want to do more, like me. I use a lot of CBT, DBT, ACT. So like what that is, cognitive behavioral,
okay.
dialectical behavioral, acceptance and commitment. They're all in what we would call like more of a direct, pragmatic approach. And there's
So what is that? And what's the difference between that and just the traditional venting type therapy?
So just talk therapy, that goes way back to Carl Rogers. And so that is just a therapist saying back to you a lot of what you're saying, asking
Okay,
open-ended questions about how you feel about things. And it just kind of stopped there. It still works.
yeah,
Absolutely still works. But then like there are those of us that just want to be more directive with you and do more things and talk about it. Talk about why. Okay, so like the CBT model.
yeah,
I am noticing this feeling, right? And I'm acting this way. Well, what was the thought behind that, right? So some people might act out in aggression or anger. Well, why did I act that way? Let's think. Well, I was feeling like I wasn't being heard or listened to again because I was trying to tell my kid what to do and my kid wasn't listening to me. And so I had to lash out in anger.
Okay.
I don't matter or something like that. And so it's triggering like a core belief of I don't matter, I'm stupid, I'm not good enough, I have to be perfect. I mean, the list goes on and on. And when we
Okay.
figure out what that is and then start to understand, oh, this feeling makes me respond this way, but it was really this thought that came out of me. Um, and that's kind of a lot of what I like to get back to because I think the reality of a lot of it is we're not understanding why we are reacting. And so it's better to kind of pause, go back and realize, well, I felt hurt or
Okay.
misunderstood or whatever that is. Because also, a lot of times with anger, and this is a huge thing for men.
Yeah. If I may, real quick, I heard like anger. I think of anger as like a secondary emotion.
It is.
So yeah. So a lot of times, if like I've noticed myself, if I get angry or if I then I have to dig behind that anger. And like a lot of times, man, we don't want to be embarrassed. We don't want to feel. We don't want like there's some things that are gonna
Yeah,
kind of stroke that don't act that aren't necessarily masculine or make us feel manly, and so we like to mask that with anger.
exactly. Yeah. So the anger iceberg. Um, I don't have one. But so imagine like you've seen an iceberg, right? And there's only a little bit above the surface, and the mass of it is actually underneath the water, in the water, not floating. So on top is
Yeah,
gonna be anger, right? But what's actually below that anger? Shame, embarrassment, hurt, frustration. A lot of the yuckier things, especially with men,
yeah,
it's more socially acceptable to be angry. I
yeah,
don't want to admit I'm embarrassed or I'm feeling
yeah,
shame.
yeah.
And I work on that probably the most with my two male clients of like,
Okay.
let's dig under. What is that really? Because I have a client who tell me all day long he's freaking furious. And then I'm like,
So what?
sounds like you were actually hurt. And he'll be like, oh, yeah, actually I was.
And that could probably help as someone coming to see you from someone to look at that from a third person perspective. Because we're all fucked up and muddied up in our emotions or whatever,
Yeah,
and we get into a spot where we're used to using that secondary emotion, and we're not like we're so used to doing that, we're so used to reacting that way. Maybe we don't realize that we are reacting that way.
exactly. Because again, this goes back to what is socially acceptable. When you
Yeah,
were little, and my dad, oh my God, the first time he said to my son, stop acting like a sissy. Boys don't cry. I was like, I will literally smack the shit out of you because to
yeah,
me, that is so not true. And I never
yeah,
wanted to raise my son that way. That toxic masculinity needs to die. Men can fucking be men. Hell yeah. And women can be women. I love,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
We can all be vulnerable and we can all have emotions, right?
yeah,
We are different for different reasons, but I think we're a lot more alike than most people do give us credit for. I mean, we're human, we have brains. But yeah, our
yeah,
bodies and our hormones direct way different things.
yeah. And we got to be careful how we're raising this next generation because a lot of us, what we're going through is a generational thing. So it's important to make sure that we don't continue on that generational toxicity
Hmm.
and that, right. So it's all kind of up to the next generation. A lot of people are telling us that we're supposed to be emotional, but we don't know how to do it.
No,
Like we don't know how to express our emotions. We don't know. We men have never been taught. As grown men, we've never been taught how to do it. A safe place to do that in because a lot out in the world is not a safe place for us to do that. We have to keep that guard up. So I'm sure the next generation is going to do a lot better than us older guys.
I hope so. I mean,
Yeah,
so I feel it in my bones. Like, I think based on what I'm watching happen with the curriculum, at least here. I don't know. I only know in the springs. Um,
Yeah.
but you're right. I mean, everything you're saying rings so true to me because you're not taught. None of us are taught how to communicate. I would not have a
No.
job if we taught people just how to communicate. Why do I have a job? Because I can be with you and listen to you and teach you skills, which is shocking.
Yeah.
Like, literally, it's shocking. We listen to respond. Even in this conversation we're having, right? Like, I'm not going into therapist mode. If I did, it'd be really boring,
Yeah.
but you would feel so good, right? Like, we would just be focusing on you this whole time, Kevin. Everything you're thinking, everything you're going through, all the emotions you can express, right? That's what
Yeah.
it look like. And I'm staying with you, focusing on you. And that feels fucking good. That feels good. That's why therapy, people like going back typically because
Yeah. So that is a different way to communicate.
it is.
So what you're saying, it's a different way to communicate because even during, even like during these podcasts or when I'm talking to somebody and I'm really into it, I still have that little thing up here where I'm like, okay, remember to circle back here. Like I'm still like, I want to respond with this. Like I'm still focused. So my energy is still focused on my response.
Right. And in some
Yeah.
ways, I love communicating that way too because let's be honest, like when I'm a therapist, I'm focused on you. We're not talking about me. You rarely know very much about me. And
Yeah.
so, in our nature, I think we need to get to a point where we're able to say, like my mom and I, right?
Yeah.
My sister and I have to be able to preface and learn to preface. I'm calling you because I just need you to listen. I don't need you to solve my problems. Listen.
Oh, I could go down a rabbit hole with that. Go ahead. I could go down a completely fucking rabbit
Go for it. Yeah, that's my main point is that we want to solve people's problems. We want to respond. We want to help fix it. And a lot of the times, because that's not what I do. I don't fix shit. Actually, believe it or
hole.
not, therapists do not help you problem solve at all.
In fact, they're not, aren't you dissuaded from doing that? Like you have to prod people along, but you're dissuaded from because I'm sure that'd be a liability.
It is.
So I'm sure yeah, you're dissuaded from actually giving solutions
Mhm.
or steering them. You kind of just coax them along.
Yeah.
I let them find their way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
use a technique, which most people do. It's called motivational interviewing. And so, like,
oh,
what it is I'm asking a lot of open ended questions to help you find what's best for you. I'm
yeah,
helping you get there by just asking the right questions. I don't actually know the answer. So I get to be just as curious as you because what we believe, most of us,
yeah.
what we believe is you absolutely have everything within you to figure it out on your own, to fix yourself, to pull your head out of your butt. You already know what you want to do. You know what I mean? You already know what's the best option. But a lot of the times it's scary to like pull the trigger, right? And so if I can sit there with you and ask you really good questions to help you get to where you naturally were probably going to end up anyway, that helps.
Kind of reaffirm. Yeah, that might reaffirm us also, right? It might be like, okay, this is like reaffirm our decision, like that is
Yeah.
okay.
And it's also empowering and strengthening because I'm not telling you
Okay.
what to do. I'm letting you do it on your own. And so you feel that empowerment and that strength to be able to say, I did it. I did it. 'Cause sometimes we're so fucking clouded that we
Yeah.
don't necessarily have that judgment right in front of us at that moment. Because emotionally, so we have an emotional brain and a cognitive brain, and they're different.
Yes.
So, like the back part of our brain, a lot more emotional, where that vagus nerve lives too. And then the
Okay.
front, this cognitive part, that's what makes us a human. So a lot of the times, what we call it is like flipping our lid. We don't have a rational center anymore. And so we're completely stuck in that emotional part of our brain. And so a lot of times I bring it back to your body. If you're in your body, you're back to your cognitive thinking brain.
Okay. So with that emotional brain, would it be more of a prehistoric part of your brain?
Yeah.
Like so that's kind of like our go-to response when the shit hits the fan. do we tend to kind of go to that emotional side, and find a way we have to find a way to get that out of that emotional side real quick.
Yep. And so a lot of times you bring it back to your body, right? That's why people, I don't know, have you ever heard of like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method?
No. Hmm.
So it's like 5 things I can see, 4 things I can hear, 3 things I can smell, right?
Oh,
2 things,
bring
so
it back to the moment.
senses. The reality of it is just being with our senses. So like you can take something, smell it, something strong, feel something really hot or cold. Uh,
Okay.
pinch yourself nicely, right? So once we're like in our body, and that's a lot of
Okay.
the skills that I teach um, for mindful kind of technical things, and a lot
Okay.
within the like CBT, ACT, DBT, again, kind of um, realm is just getting our brain back online. Because when we're really reactive,
Yeah.
that can be dangerous. And so we want to be able to respond, not react when
Okay. Do you
we're
think
emotional.
so? I heard I don't know if you know who Andrew Huberman is. He's like a pretty world renowned neuroscientist, I believe. He said that we retain our neuroplasticity even as adults, and we're able to kind of change our. What do you know about that? I want to pick your brain about that.
So that's part of why therapy works too. So what it actually does is it's building new neural connections and it's changing our brain's neuroplasticity.
Okay.
So part of that feeling heard and feeling understood builds new neural connections and changes neuroplasticity. I
Okay.
believe EMDR does. I've only done it. I haven't done the training. So I know about it, but I'm not trained in it yet. Um,
Okay. Okay.
but again, yes, exactly. We literally change the mapping of our brains. Addiction changes the maps of our brains, and we have to come back from that. I mean, I used to drink a lot. I don't drink. I used to smoke.
Yeah.
I quit smoking. I used to bite the shit out of my nails. I don't bite my nails anymore. Um, but a part of it is just mindset, our brain, um, the neural connections, the belief. I mean, there's so many things that come into it, but yes, therapy literally changes your brain.
Because I've talked to so many people, and they're just like, well, this is the way I am. Whether it's their attachment style or whether
No.
it's like, because we have attachment styles, the way we attach to our parents kind of carries over to relationships. And I've heard people just say, well, this is just me. I can't fucking change it. Fuck off. Like we can't.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that. I believe we can always evolve and learn new ways of thinking.
Yeah. And that's what's called a fixed mindset, right? So there's a growth mindset and there's a fixed mindset. I'll plug another.
Yeah.
I brought some of my books here. Mindset.
All right.
And so this for everything. It says parenting, business, school, relationships, even sports. It talks a lot about sports in here. It has like Tiger Woods and our mindset is huge. And so there's a growth mindset and there's a fixed mindset. A fixed mindset is I am the way I am, and I used to be this way. I actually
Okay.
my paper to get into grad school on that. We have
Okay.
a paper to like get in. And that's what I wrote it about was I used to say these are the cards I'm dealt and I have to play my hand. Fuck it. That's
Yeah.
I can fold every single one of those cards and I can keep drawing until I have the hand that I want. There's no rules to this game.
Yeah. 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 That seems like a really good way to approach life. So, what's next for you in the therapy realm?
What is
Do you, are you looking at new forms of like what's next for me?
well, I'm in the thick of it now. I am in what's like the candidacy process, right? And
Okay.
so I hold on to the licensed professional counseling candidacy license.
Okay.
I do 2,000 hours and 2 years. It's not whichever one comes first. You have to do both.
Okay.
And then you're a fully licensed clinician. But I don't know if
Okay.
most people know, but you did talk about it earlier continuing education. We
Yeah.
have to always have it. So every 2 years, we need 40 continuing education credits. So like the
Having to keep moving with the times, right? Like the
exactly. That's
okay.
what protects our clients from us getting stagnant, right? Could you imagine if my therapist who started in the 90s was still practicing the way he did in the 90s? Oi. Yeah. So we get to keep moving with the times. We redo HIPAA training every year,
Oh,
to make
okay.
everything up to date with how to be confidential and how to use best practice, how to make sure everything's encrypted because everything's electronic now. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so we are considered in like the healthcare realm. So what am I doing? I am going to be getting my hours. I am going to be
Okay.
working under supervision. I just got a new supervisor. I'm
Okay.
really excited for the growth that she's going to help me um, work on. It's really important to stay in supervision, right? Because I need to talk to people about the shit that comes up for me when I am meeting with my clients so that I can
That
best, the best.
does that's an interesting angle. I don't mean to interrupt, but does that's a very fucking interesting angle in that you are a therapist, but you're also a fucking person.
Yep.
You're a person with your own stuff and your own struggles. And so does that come up sometimes?
Oh, all the time.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not like constant. I shouldn't say all the time, but it's normal. It's natural. We call it
Okay.
countertransference. And so I thought coming into this, like, oh, I've been through so much shit. Like, I'm going to be so empathetic and so awesome with all these people, right? Because I've lived a really crazy life.
Yeah.
And then I realized, oh, that actually makes all the things bubble. Because when somebody talks about this or this or this or this, my mind goes back to my experience with
Okay.
death, with, you name it. And so I have to make sure that I'm staying in my therapy, I'm doing my supervision so that I can go into session and show up for you and be there for you and not
Yeah.
any of my biases or prejudice or experiences bubble up for you. I can stay
Okay.
focused for you.
Because I know confirmation bias can be a very, very strong thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, so I'm sure. Yeah, that is interesting. I never thought about it from that angle, that the people we talk to are also people, right? That have their own, yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think you still struggle with right now, personally? And I warned you I was going to dig into this. I like
Yeah.
to go
Um,
what I do.
Gosh, I don't know. I think part of it is I am such a mom
Yeah,
and I try not to come at my younger ones as a mom. I always try to say like I want to be Amanda and I came into this saying I was only going to work with adults. And then I started working with like adolescents, which is like your kind of 10 to 19ish range.
yeah,
Um and I loved it because they made me work for it. Adults come in, they tell you your whole story, you're getting to work right away. These kids are, I
yeah.
don't know you, I don't trust you. And then all of a sudden, I don't know, some of them 3 months, some of them 5 months, some of them 6 months, come in one day and say, can I tell you something I've never told anybody? Can I tell you a secret? Can I tell you something that happened? Right? And you sit there with them and you earned it. And it's beautiful. Right?
Yeah,
And the whole point of me saying that is knowing like I like knowing I earn it and I'm doing what I should be doing with them. Not coming at them like
yeah,
their mom
yeah,
telling them, you should have this and that, da, 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 right? No,
yeah.
I want to come at you as someone who just wants to be with you and understand you. And
And a part of that is with having to work so hard, probably just the investment gives you more of a sense of accomplishment too. That's kind of cool. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
we again, so another book I will plug, Self Compassion. And part of self-compassion is we really like ourselves, but like we
Yeah,
take care of ourselves, but we want to be praised. We want to feel good about ourselves. We want somebody to tell us, you're doing a good job. You did
yeah,
it, right? We don't want to be
yeah.
mediocre.
I got this thing where I got this thing where what was that? What road was that down? Where we are our own person, right? Like you were handed a person a birth, and there are so many times in our life that we neglect ourselves,
Oh yeah.
and then we end up just getting validation, and we end up looking for validation always outside, and we've neglected ourselves. So we're our human. Like if we get a puppy right now, what are we doing? We're wiping its ass and giving it kisses, and we're carrying it everywhere and we're taking care of it. But we don't do that. We don't do that for ourselves enough.
Right. Yeah. And that's a part of our profession. So part of our ethical code is to take care of ourselves.
Yeah,
Because if not, we get burnout, we get compassion fatigue. Um, the fun fact is, most people don't make it 5 years in this profession.
really.
Yeah. And I don't want to be that person. I want to be able to look
Yeah,
back 20 years down the road and say, I'm still fucking helping people and I still love people.
you seem very, very fucking passionate about what you're doing, and you seem like it's talking to Amanda 10, 15 years ago. You are this. You're like a whole different person. You're so passionate. And you're going down this road. And I think you've done great. This has been a lot different of an episode than I would have imagined it being. And it's really been a pleasure. I really, really thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, Kevin. Yeah. I love seeing you doing what you're doing. I love seeing you talking about mental health. I've always known you to be a teddy bear.
Yeah.
I know you have a sweet side to you. Um, and I think it's cool that you're kind of letting that passionate, vulnerable side of you out. And I want you to keep on doing it because it is important for men to realize it's okay to be vulnerable. And maybe
Yeah.
we'll get you in the therapy chair and see what you really think.
Yeah, we'll see.
And I'm sorry that you had such a bad experience with marriage therapy. I've heard that a lot. I think at that point, a lot of the times the stakes are really high. And it's a whole different experience than just going in and being able to just be you and not have to worry
Yeah.
about somebody else there, not have to worry about
Yeah.
a common goal, right? It's just you.
Yeah. I've actually, I got in this really bad, I'm going to talk about myself for a minute. I don't do that very often. I got in this really bad habit of being a victim and wondering why everything kept happening.
Yeah.
Like just over and over and over. And I went into a really dark spot, probably right after I lost my leg. And I was just like, God, why is all this happening? And so I decided I was going to stop, slowly crawl out of it, and figure people out.
Mhm.
So my whole mission, I'm going to figure out people. But in doing that, I had to figure myself out to the point where I was like, I bring a lot of that on me.
Mhm.
Like it's more of a figuring myself out. And I think a lot of the times when we figure ourselves out, it helps us figure out other people.
It does.
So
And it helps
yeah,
us, I think, be a little more compassionate, not only for ourselves, but for others. And just
yeah,
understanding, like you said, there's that mindset. Why can't you have a survivor's mindset? I went through all of this shit and I am still standing. Dang,
yeah,
that's bad.
yeah, yeah. Well, thank you very much for being on the fucking podcast. I'm going to hit the red button, cut it. Okay, it was a pleasure talking to you. Remember that Oxford thing coming up.
Okay.
Um, Continuing credits, just the top people in the world on
Mhm.
trauma. I'm actually gonna pay for the thing and watch it online. So
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Thanks for having me, Kev. It was good. It was good.
absolutely, have a good day,
You
Amanda.
too. Bye bye.